here 5 years ago, people would say, oh, in 5 years, you'll have bandwidth everywhere, you'll never be offline, it'll never happen. So I think that is a reality that we live in. I think, it's an interesting point about the experience you have online versus local and how that changes. And I think there's a fulcrum there because, you look at an editor like PowerPoint or something like that where clearly a native app, in any kind of application is going to give you a smoother experience than a web app. But there's a trade-off, right? So when you're on the web, you're always the latest version. You're editing with your colleagues that are around the world at the same time. And so that's really, I think, the value of the cloud. When we talk about storage, it's in backup. It's that if I take all my pictures on my vacation on my phone and then I drop it in the ocean on the last day, they're already all saved online for me. And I didn't just lose them because I dropped it. And so the camera's not as good, the quality's not as good, but there's a lot of value that they're always connected. So I think, again, as the bandwidth piece goes away, that fulcrum will shift a little bit, and as the web apps get better, that'll change. But I think the reality is we're still kind of in this middle ground today, which is why you have to live in both worlds.
So you guys have talked about editing documents to some degree on the client, but what I want to know is why it's so hard for me to upload a file to store from my iPhone. Are you guys able to support this kind of thing? And why is it so hard? Why is it so hard?
It's Apple's fault. Most people who build iPhone apps for uploading when it comes to, Google does great. Google Plus is kind of the forebearer of like, hey, I take a photo, it automatically uploads it. Now, granted, they've changed. Before they had some changes where they changed the file and its clarity, but they're getting better at that. But with Apple, because it's a closed system, you can't automatically upload things. You take that photo, and you actually have to open the app that you want it to upload in, and then you have to select it, choose to upload. And there's some tricks and things that you can do around it, but again, this comes down to like Apple has got to open iOS up at least a hair for the cloud to really do anything great, at least from their devices. I want to make a comment too. We talked about things don't happen as fast as we expect. That's common. I think one of the things that we're learning though is that these devices, even though they are getting bigger in storage, they generate way more storage than they keep, and that's actually a forcing function to the cloud. So today at the game, I easily did 4 or 5 gigs worth of photos and videos, and I only have like 10 gigs on this, so I'm going to have to move them somewhere. And where is that? And it's clearly the cloud. That's not the future, but that's close. That's like right in front of us. And making that easier. I know every one of us on this panel is at the forefront of thinking about how easy can I get data into our system, because if I can reduce that friction, the likeliness is that you guys will be long-term users of our systems if we make it easy to get it in there. So to your point, we're all working on that. We're all working on making sure it's easy. One of the advantages with SpaceMonkey is in your own home network, you can move 100 gigs in a few minutes or hours, whereas moving it out to the cloud can take weeks. And that's the limitation of bandwidth. That's the limitation of our ISPs. So, one of the advantages that we look at is, well, can I move your data fast to SpaceMonkey? Because most of us are on mobile devices, and they turn off or they move away. And once I close my laptop, I walk away. I want that data already to be up there. I don't want to have to wait or have to leave my laptop on for 3 weeks just to move it to the cloud. Like that's nuts, right? So our goal is, hey, we give you a really fast experience in SpaceMonkey, and that device gets your data, and then it starts replicating out to the storage network and pushing it out there over time. We call, internally we call it eventual redundancy. It still takes a few weeks to get it out, but you now no longer have to worry about keeping your laptop on coffee all the time so that it runs and puts it there. So I think all of us are working on different modes or different ways of trying to solve that problem.
The one thing I'll add to that is that I think that we talk about sort of where we are with everywhere connectivity, right? And I think we're kind of working on that. But I also think that as we look at connectivity, there are many different levels of connectivity, right? I think that what you will see more and more of is that you're going to see more and more intelligence in terms of how bandwidth is being used. Like, you know, if I'm on a 3G connection versus a Wi-Fi connection or fiber or something like that, right? I mean, the experience you're going to see for uploading those pictures is going to be different depending on that, right? I mean, if I'm traveling and I'm on a roaming plan, yeah, I'm going to also have to pay, by the way, if I upload those pictures. So there's a lot of, what you would say, you know, variance and input on exactly how bandwidth is being used. So I think that a lot of us are sort of thinking about, okay, what do we know? What kind of awareness do we have about the network? And we're working, like for us, right, we're working a lot with operators, and the operators are giving us increasingly more awareness about the state of the network, right? So it's like, you know, today on iOS, we know if you're on a Wi-Fi network or if you are on a 3G network, or, you know, I don't know if you know if you're roaming or not, but increasingly they're making that kind of stuff available for us. So as application developers, we can be more intelligent as well in terms of how we use this. And again, going back to the online versus cloud, I think the goal is transparency, right? As a user, you shouldn't care. You shouldn't care whether your data is locally in the cloud. You just want to get to your data. Yep. And we got to make it transparent. That's really what we got to do. And today it's sort of like, it's a lot of it's the early time still, where we still got to expose a lot of that to users, and it's sort of like, you know, a car in the early 1900s, right, where it's like, you know, there's all kind of lights and controls you have to worry about. But in 10 years, that's going to be gone.
I don't know if any of you guys saw, but there was some news of unconfirmed, or maybe an anonymous source, speaking about Google thinking about ways to use software-defined networks for the Android platform, actually. It just came out today. I said, wow, this is really exciting, but I don't know what it means. I don't know what I can do with it, but I want to know. So I just wanted to know, Nick, if there's any thoughts going on that you can talk about.
Can you spread some more rumors?
Spread some more rumors. As to what maybe we can think about would be a great thing going forward, that maybe Android would be able to enable the upload and download of certain kinds of files. Because it's in Google Docs, maybe because you pay a premium one day that Google Docs might have, I don't know, to have a certain kind of a guarantee for performance up and down the network.
So, you know, the part of Google that I work on we call enterprise, which is taking the Google consumer technology that we then package and give to companies. And so part of the premise there is we're doing additional things around security, around performance, around reliability, support that as a consumer with a free service you don't get. So clearly there are things that we are doing and can do to offer a premium service for companies and for schools, people that want that. So I think that's really the focus. You know, I don't know about like devices and things like that that are going to do it, but I think clearly, you know, when we talk about enterprise customers, people are willing to pay to have a certain level of experience, and I think that's been the case for a long time and will continue to be.
Yeah, you know, to add on to that, you know, one of the premises is for us, and we've had, you know, we're a startup. We're not like these big dogs over here. I mean, I don't even know why they invited me, but I'm here anyways. And one of our premises is that we can manipulate traffic to not only enhance your experience as a consumer, but also the ISP. I mean, when we were at Mozy, yeah, I mean, times I would have to call somebody at Comcast because we had a bunch of customers who were basically blacklisted in 2006 because they were moving hundreds of gigabytes to, they must be, you know, BitTorrenting. No, they're using backup. Oh, what is this backup thing, and why is it not semantic? Isn't that to a hard drive? No, it's to the cloud, and Comcast would be like, cloud, or data center. This doesn't make sense, and so we'd have to keep trying to educate ISPs on, but they were at the same time like slowly seeing the disadvantage that they were at because, you know, just in the same Netflix battle that they're having is Netflix makes all the money while they have to transfer over across networks. So one of the things that Space Monkey is working on and beginning to have discussions with ISPs is, hey, you know, if you have a Space Monkey user, we will actually manipulate the traffic so that when they store other bits to other Space Monkey users, we'll keep a large percentage of that on your ISP. So, you know, you've already paid for that infrastructure. You don't have to pay for it again. And so, you know, maybe the combination is 80% or 90%. And ISPs love that. Their response immediately is like, really? Dropbox is killing us, or Carbonite is killing us, or Backblaze is killing us. And they're like, you know, anything we can do to help alleviate the operational costs, will actually, in turn, benefit you guys because of caps. And I know a lot of them are getting away from caps. Some of them are enforcing even more caps. I know Europe is particularly difficult for bandwidth caps, but you know, we hope that we can work with ISPs that say, well, traffic from SpaceMonkey isn't counted against your cap. It's, you know, because it's intelligently moved through the network. Yes, some portion will have to go off in order to maintain important redundancy, but the majority of it stays there. So there's a lot of things, whether it's Google or whether it's us, I think, and there's probably 30 other startups who are talking about the same thing right now, or like fired up to make this happen. I think that will happen, and it will absolutely benefit the guys sitting on the other side of this table.
And one of the things that we do is that we actually reduce the content to literally an order of magnitude smaller than what our competitors do today. So
how do you do that, Tony?
This is
how
all
do
part
you
of
do it?
our
I wanna know.
IP. This is we're a technology company more than anything else. We're not a storage company. I mean, what we do is that we've invented this storage technology that allows you to stream 100% of what you own across every device that you have. But even on the upload, we only save the unique pieces of content that you have created personally. So if anyone in the world, someone in Japan has uploaded a file or has a file that has a piece of what you have on your desktop, that piece is not uploaded. That in itself is an order of magnitude amount of data that you don't have to upload because someone else has done the work for you.
But wait a second, I thought you said that you can't look at everyone's data.
We don't look at it. We just know it's there. I don't have to look at you to see that you're there.
You just know.
I just touched you. There is there.
This is an interesting point, I think, and it goes back to, you know, and consumer. These guys are enterprise, and so it's a little different. In fact, they are what we call the milk machine. You can make a lot of money on the enterprise, but in the consumer, you don't have that advantage.
Yes.
You know, deduplication and convergent encryption, in particular what Tony's alluding to, you know, we did encryption across multi-petabyte systems and found that, you know, we could get 10 to 15%, and there's a few studies out there that have shown that it's about that range. User-generated content is kind of the interesting piece with Google Glass and other things that are going to come out just like that, where you're generating so much unique content by just looking at people and looking at the audience, you know, that isn't going to be anywhere else, and that is going to, you know, start just crawling into every edge of your data center and everything. And I know, you know, there was a little bit of a dismissal of like, well, you know, storage is not that interesting. Well, trust me, when millions of people have continuous recording devices on them, whether it's a piece of glass or something else, you're going to start worrying about, oh crap, how much does it cost me to store this continuous data? You know, that will become an issue. And you know, one of the interesting things that this is just a thesis and it can be proven wrong. The Google guys can definitely prove it wrong. But you know, we believe what made Google successful, they had a great algorithm for search in 2000, but the thing that actually made them successful was that unlike their competitors who were buying expensive $20,000 servers from Sun Microsystems, these guys were like, what the hell would we do that for? Let's just go buy hard drives, commodity stuff in the data center. Let's build a commodity distributed storage system that expects to fail. And hard drives can go offline for weeks before we even pull them out of the rack and throw them away. And that meant that the ad revenue, that the few cents you got for every one of those clicks actually became more profitable clicks than a Yahoo or an Alta Vista or something else. And it was really their storage layer that was antithetical to everything that was being done in the internet in 2000. And where are those guys now? Inktomi? Anybody know who Inktomi is? You know, I mean, Yahoo's an exception because they've moved into a different business, but Sun Microsystems, where are they? You know, that stuff has changed, and that's because data just continues to just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And yeah, a lot of it will be what do we do with that data and how we accomplish that. But I promise you, there's going to be new devices coming out that are going to just explode. Absolutely explode our need for more data, and that's why a 60 terabyte platter became an exciting piece of news a few months ago from Seagate. It's like, what? 60 terabyte platter? We're gonna have 60 terabyte hard drives? That's fantastic. But what about the CPUs to run that 60 terabyte hard drive? What about the air to cool those CPUs? What about the electricity and all those things? All become interesting questions, and that's why one of Google's most secretive divisions is their hardware division, right? I mean, it's no secret. Like they are just clandestine about how they're building data centers and how they're doing stuff. So, added comment to some of the things that have already been said.
Yeah.